Welcome to Worthy the Podcast, where we have conversations about what it means to feel worthy and what happens when we don't. I'm your host, Jessica Raimondi.
Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Welcome to Worthy the Podcast. This is actually a really, really exciting time and special time because I'm in London, which, by the way, is amazing. And I would love to show you out this window, but that wouldn't look good on camera. So when I came here for a vacation and thought, I know somebody here who's a badass woman that I would love to have on the pod. So this is Valentina Marzola, and she is a friend at this point now, but we used to, she was a coach of mine, and I'm going to give you a formal introduction, lady, okay? So really excited to have you here. So Valentina is a coach, speaker, and breathwork facilitator who helps women release fear, comparison, and self-doubt and reconnect to their bodies and innate worth. She's the founder of Airena. Is that
Airena.
Right? Airena.
Yeah.
A new breathwork brand, and her work blends holistic tools like hypnotherapy, meditation, and breathwork to guide women and men, I believe, right?
Yes, definitely.
Back home to themselves. So welcome.
Thank you. So excited. I'm so glad you're in London.
Oh my gosh. I know. We were just chatting about the last time we saw each other. It must have been a couple of years ago. We were in Miami. And you were coaching me for 2 years, I think, right?
I think even more.
I think a little. And obviously that was remotely. I was in Florida. You were here in the UK. But I was thinking about what an integral part of my life you were. I mean, such a huge source of guidance and wisdom. I mean, we went through career challenges,
So much.
busting through so many fears, watching fears come true, breakup things, relationship dynamics,
Money, relationship, money.
But you really gave me, first of all, such a sense of support, but you were like that, you were in my corner, and I think that's probably why you are so successful at what you do, is you're a real cheerleader, but support, and you kind of you mirror back this confidence to me. You're like, it's okay, fall apart. I'm going to reflect this back to you.
Yeah. I love that.
It was such an important, I'm so honored, and I'm so glad that you're still in my life.
I do, honestly, connected forever, for sure.
I know, this is a very, very special moment. So, okay. I want to start with you personally a little bit and talk about your kind of journey. I mean, look at what you're doing, a coach in so many aspects, but talk about your personal journey, the struggles that, take us back, to, that this podcast is related to self-worth, right? We're trying to investigate what it means to feel worthy, what happens when we don't, and all the things in between. And was there a time way back when, or maybe not so way back when your self-worth felt out of reach, or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What was life like then?
Yeah. Well, I would say before I even became a coach, there was a whole period of my life where I was very lost. I was struggling with panic disorder, leaning into depression, chronic anxiety. I was on antidepressants, very, very strong tranquilizers. And I was living a very different life. I was living in a loop of fear. I was afraid to dream big. I was afraid to be myself. I was afraid to be authentic. I was attracting very toxic relationships. And I would say that self-worth, I don't think it's something you just oh, now I've reached it, now everything's sorted. Right. I can also pinpoint times in my life more recently where I didn't feel worthy. So obviously it's easier to look back at the maybe
they were motivating factors.
Exactly.
But it's working for stress.
Yeah, at least. And I think if we chat probably 5, 6, 7 years down the line, I'll be saying all the things in this time of my life that have been, where I felt like I had maybe lower self-worth. I do think there was a time where things looked very different. I also think it's a work in progress. And I think it's a constant work, regularly, even daily, when you make decisions on what you believe you deserve in business and relationships, with money, opportunities, fun, adventure, pleasure, all of these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely there was a time where things looked different.
Oh, well, good to know we're not alone, guys. Absolutely not. I think that's really important. And part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is I think, back then, I mean, I don't know about for you, but for me, I didn't have the language back then. I didn't have the awareness back then. And have the community back then. And those feelings of not deserving, not enoughness, that it just, you can really feel like you're alone. And I'm sure a lot of my listeners will relate to that. So it's so nice to see somebody step into their worth and have beautiful success. But, there was a motivating factor, right? And
Yeah.
Absolutely. What was the turning point, you think?
I would say one of the turning points was a rock bottom with my mental health. So my panic disorder, having to, because it ripped me out of my reality. And so obviously I had to stop. Everything I was doing was very young at the time.
It was like a forced you to be present.
Yeah, it forced me to just move back in with my parents and go into full-time therapy, which means I stepped out of the hamster wheel, out of that autopilot of that studying, and I need to be here, and I need to do this, and what am I going to do? And this information overload, the decision fatigue, not knowing what to study, who to be. So it ripped me out and helped me think, what do I really want? And also it made me really face my fears. Obviously, I was afraid. I was in a panic disorders when you have...
Oh, I've been there. I've had it. Debilitating panic attacks. It's almost like it feels like it's incredibly physical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Incredibly physical.
Very scary.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say that was one turning point. Then when I started getting better and healing from it, I started modeling in Milan. So something completely different. So I quit my studies. At the time, I was studying biology in Austria. Quit everything, moved back in with my parents, went full-time therapy, started getting better, started modeling in Milan, and it was like my full-time job. And I started getting my confidence back. As much as it's quite a crazy world that will knock your confidence, in my case, it was because I came from such a scared place. I was finally free. And I was also in a very emotionally abusive relationship before that, so which I was able to kind of cut away or break free from. I would say when I started modeling-ish. So I would say that was definitely...
like a taking back your power moment?
Taking back my power, exactly. And distance from him as well. And therapy helped me find the courage to break free from him and let him go. And so that was, I think, a very important moment, pivotal moment in my life where I started wearing the things I want to wear, because again, in that abusive relationship, I was able to or allowed to.
Sure, a lot of our listeners are going through that right now.
Yeah, and so wearing what I want in the fashion industry and traveling and just trying my luck in a new city. I was living in now she's my aunt, but at the time, like, she was my uncle's girlfriend, and I was sleeping on her couch in Milan, and making it work. And waking up and seeing different castings from big brands just motivated me, right? And from there I started getting my confidence, and then decided it wasn't enough and started studying. So I would say that would have been potentially that breakthrough moment. But I've had many more moving forward.
Oh, they never stop.
Yeah, exactly. So I think all of them
it's interesting, we kind of get the message when we're ready to get the message, and I don't think we would get to where we need to be if we hadn't had that behind us, because not only is it like motivating, I think, but it's something that you get to share now.
Absolutely.
And use that vulnerability or use that experience to, motivate, look at the work you're doing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So in regards to meditation, breath work, when did you start experimenting with that, and how did it shift things for you?
I would say the first encounter with meditation would have been, first encounter was probably my mom telling me about it, and I was very, very young, so I have to thank her. After that, I think it was thankful. After that, I think my panic disorder, I landed, a lot of things didn't help me until I landed into this therapy room with this psychotherapist who taught me all about, he gave me the book from John Kabat-Zinn, Full Catastrophe Living. And then I learned about mindfulness, and I had to start with 3 minutes a day of just focusing on my breathing, which is so hard. So hard. And at the time, I was dragging the even days. Some days it's like those 3 minutes, man, are I'm fully honest. Even as an instructor, as a trainer, as a facilitator, as a guide, it's the distance is there.
Especially 30 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's those days we need it the most. So it's always crazy, right? It's got to take fast. But so that was then when I learned about mindfulness and learning about breath. a little bit, not as much, but obviously,
yeah, he's developed, huh?
Yeah, I was scared to even hold my breath for 20 seconds. So I remember my therapist was like, okay, let's hold our breath for 20 seconds here. And it's crazy that now my job is doing breath retentions with people and intermittent hypoxia, which is when build CO2 tolerance. And
now,
to be honest, I've done some where I've reached almost 2, but I need to be really, really in I'm laying down and I need to feel fully safe.
Yeah,
because it is a mental thing as well.
I can do about
also
one,
practice.
I think.
Yeah.
5 seconds to 1 minute. Right, but it gets that fear comes in. It's incredible.
And as soon as I try to measure it, for example, I'll probably
it's like when the camera's on, you're trying to do something.
I've only done it because I use an SpO2 meter to see if my oxygen levels went down enough, and I have it on my finger, and I just lay down there, and then when I look at the app, I can see, wow, I was in very low. I had very low oxygen levels for this amount of time. So I've been able to do quite long, but only alone in my bedroom. If you ask me to hold my breath in a pool, and then have to think out it. So there's probably more work there to be done.
That's true. So with the meditation and the breathwork, what did you start to feel?
At the beginning, it was my relief from obviously building again that confidence from, those panic attacks. So regulating the breath when you're in the middle of a panic attack. Once I've kind of got my life back, I kind of left breathwork. It was there, meditation was there with breathwork, but I left it. And then when I got into coaching, I brought those tools back. And what I feel when I do my own breathwork or I help clients, I hear that a lot, is just a moment of clarity a lot of times and peace. Not always.
No.
But you could reach a moment where there's so much clarity. And so I've even had whole programs being downloaded in one session of breathwork sometimes. I'm like, this is going to be module 1, module 2, module 3, bam, all in one, go.
Because there's no noise.
No noise, and you open up. Again, we bring oxygen levels to extremities. We bring there's full oxygenation of our extremities. And so in certain areas of your brain, because we do certain movements and we push that cerebrospinal fluid up, you start really being so creative. And especially the breath hold time, it's like the breathless state is also known as nirvana, no need to breathe. And in those moments, everything feels so light, so clear, so possible. And you feel almost this bliss, this gratitude from literally nothing external, which I'm a big fan about now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so big into breath work, and I've delved into this practice so much.
It has nothing to do with anything else.
Anybody else.
Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can give it to you.
Exactly. And it's simply, and also contrast therapy, now that I've been teaching that as well, is also very simple. You go from hot to cold. It's nothing that much, outside of pretty simple, but not easy.
No, and nothing simple is easy as well.
Exactly.
So on to your work a little bit and working with clients. So you said at first were you working just with women? You're fine.
Yeah. So first I was working just with women.
Yeah.
And now I work with everybody. I was working just with women because it was a bit easier when I started to niche into kind of the kind of people that attracted towards me.
Yeah.
And all my practice clients. And there were a lot of women. At the time, I was also dating someone as a public figure in the space. And men was a little bit tricky based on he was an athlete, and based on his work, it was a bit trickier. So I just wanted to stick to women and to the kind of practice I had. Over time, though, this has changed massively. When I rebranded, when I started doing much more around also peak performance and confidence and breath work, I love coaching men now. Yeah, I love both, honestly. Whoever wants to join.
No, it is. Why always say, kind of when you're starting your business, you're your perfect client.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's for most people.
That's right. That's exactly it.
So when they come to you, men and women, in coaching, workshops, breath, what do you see as kind of the main struggles that come up again and again for people? And I know this the loaded answer, especially around self-worth.
Around self-worth, I would say what we get a lot is not feeling like you deserve success, or not feeling like you deserve, we get a lot of, I would say it's often confidence, but I think confidence is also very linked to self-worth.
Yeah, almost like a byproduct.
A byproduct. Yeah, this confidence is more like, okay, it's more, let's say, the action-oriented part, okay? Like, to build confidence, you need to get out of your comfort zone, and it's way more simple than we think.
Yeah.
Self-worth.
It's like a tool, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that we're talking about this because I think part of the reason I'm doing this podcast is to give self-worth, put it out there as language, right? Because like people I think self-esteem, confidence. So it's really important to highlight kind of the differences.
Exactly. And feeling worthy, I would say, is at the bottom of it. But they'll come through my sessions and present it as, I'd love to do this. I'd love to look like this.
Like love us like that. Yeah.
Like I'd love to, have this, and this, but I'm afraid to fail. I'm afraid to be judged. I'm afraid to be seen. And then they always add a little extra thing here or there. Like, I would like to look this way or get a few kilos less or more or whatever it may be on top of that. And they think it's all confidence. And I do like the word confidence. But when we go and dig deeper, it's also about feeling worthy of a healthy body, of the energetic capacity to hold that money.
Oh, yeah.
Or feeling deserving of the right opportunities that may arise in business, and not always kind of the lower hanging fruit.
For sure. So those are kind of, so that being the root of the issue and these kind of coming to you with these surface issues.
Yeah.
What do you, so I was going to say, how does it like show up and what do you see as like the symptoms in their daily life? Like, how can you pick up on that?
I think they're, like I said, masked with like low confidence, but underneath we see greater things. I would say, what can I see?
Like in careers or relationships?
Yeah, well, being stuck in toxic relationships, and toxic is this word is thrown out left,
or
right, and
pattern,
center.
like, right? Pattern that don't sort of you in relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Toxic here
Doesn't mean you're betting, you're being abused left and right.
Exactly. So just even settling, the amount of women who are in a safe, happy relationship, safe, because I mean, they're not like getting abused like we just talked about.
Where did that come from? What is this idea that we're safe and settling? We're like, it's.
I think personally, it's so much harder to let go of something that is quite okay and good,
because you know what it's going to be.
Exactly, and rather than something that is so bad for you. And so sometimes, you're like, there's something called cognitive dissonance, right? So our brain always wants to be right. If you've invested 10 years and working in a company, it's going to be harder for your brain to justify the reasons as to why you leave. And this is why sometimes they come to us or they come to my sessions and they're like, yeah, but my insurance is covered. And
almost like
they latch onto these little,
which sound like excuses, but it's actually brain chemistry.
But for them, it's like, you know what, like for real, like that's an extra challenge that I'm gonna have to pay. My insurance won't be covered when
your brain's trying to always take the easiest path.
Exactly.
Resistance, correct?
Exactly. So your brain tries to keep you safe. Its job is to keep you safe always and to save energy. And 10 years in a company or 10 years in a relationship, plus I don't know how many moves, your whole flat's like together. Maybe you have pets. Maybe you've got children. Your brain can't fathom the concept of like, how could I give up on so much commitment right there? So it's like, it's very
too much. Yeah.
And if you bring it down to something super simple, you buy a sandwich, you don't like the taste of the sandwich, but because you bought it,
you're gonna
just finish it. Then obviously, of course, the whole concept of not wanting to waste food. But I mean, again, you've invested something, therefore now your brain needs to make it make sense, right? So similarly, we settle because it's not that bad. We find the things that work well. Like, you know what, he or she, they're so like,
this is why we make nothing will be better than that too. Is that like I can't even imagine, like, right? Remember when I was going through my breakup, it's like, I can't even imagine anything I'm going to feel right. I'm going to feel this way ever again, or there's anybody that's going to do this. And you realize you're just hitting these certain points.
Absolutely.
What if the next person hits all of these? We can't even think.
And so much more, but it takes so much courage and self-worth, because you have to think, this is good, I deserve better.
Do you think courage is another component of work?
Yeah, courage is a huge one, very linked to confidence. So again, a bit more on the surface level, more on the tangible, on the more action-oriented level. Whereas I see self-worth really at the bottom of everything bubbling,
Yes.
And if you can do that kind of work at the bottom, then you start feeling, okay, but I'm worthy of that. And then you have the other element, which is to be confident, we have to have the bravery to step out of our comfort zone and learn how to handle discomfort. Another reason why I love contrast therapy.
Yes.
Because it's uncomfortable.
Well, I was going to say it's uncomfortable, and our tendency is to run, to escape, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a perfect example today. I was sitting outside having coffee, and I wanted to check my phone. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I was like, loud as day, like the inner voice was like, go inside, do the inner work, because I knew I had to sit. I'm doing some work in therapy that I had to, I'm trying to sit with myself for a certain amount of time, and I'm doing some IFS therapy. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And it's like, I have to talk to my parts. I have to be there for myself. And it was like loud as day. It was like, sit down and be with yourself, and that's uncomfortable. So, and we don't do a lot of, and I actually do enjoy it, like to this point, like in a sense. But even like you were saying, Ivan, as a coach, as a teacher, whatever, I'm still resistant. IFS is so fascinating. It's something I'd love to delve deeper. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's, I think with a lot of these modalities, I think they're all taking us back to the inner child, right? I mean, or it's to reparenting in some way yourself, and taking responsibility, but also having such compassion.
Yes, and giving yourself grace.
Yeah, so I think all the, I think it's all kind of comes back to that, but it's definitely an interesting format. Modality. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so universal blocks and narratives in your clients that they really struggle to let go of.
Universal blocks and beliefs usually is I'm not good enough.
That's what I wrote down.
The main ones is I'm not good enough. The fear of being judged by even like random people they're not in contact with. It's usually not the closest people.
Never.
It's like people
stranger.
At school,
right? Yeah,
high school. But these people still follow me. Let me make another account, kind of stuff like that.
Right.
So we've got a lot of fear of judgment, fear of failure. Again, that shame, that feeling of shame if everything crumbles, what your family would think, what your friends would think, how you're perceived externally. And that's a huge one. And it's very scary.
We like to say that we don't care.
Yeah, but we
care. You probably care. I'm sorry. So much. There's so much. Yeah, exactly. And something I had to deal with myself. I'm like, you care.
You care. And you know what? And it's also important to see it that way, that we do care. But when is it getting in the way of your dreams, your goals, and also who you are as a person?
Or giving them power over how I care.
Again, exactly. Huge one. Giving power to other people and to external factors is another one. We do a lot of work around energy drainers and gainers, right? That seems like
that was a thing. Huge tool that you actually. I do that to this day. That's right. Actually, I took a break from teaching yoga.
Really?
It was during the classes, the public classes. They were draining me, and it freed me.
Yeah.
I mean, the energy I had to start all of this and to think clearly, to enjoy. Like I've never practiced yoga more.
Yeah.
And I love teaching, but it was something about the way I was doing it, and it was an amazing skill to hone. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's so simple, right? It's just about, but it's when you feel like something is off, I always say, let's assess a little bit. Like we need to learn to assess things and to be quite self-aware about what is wrong in my life. And then you realize, wait, like all my energy is going into drainers on the daily.
Can you explain that a little bit more for our listeners?
Yeah.
The drainers and gainers?
Yeah. So basically what we do is in the session, especially with clients that come to me that are like burnt out or really at the point where their nervous system cannot handle anything anymore, we'll kind of like break things apart a little bit and have a look and put them all out there and then work through them. Gently and kindly. So one of the things we do, not like it's not the main tool, but I believe in bringing tools together, is we look at anything in your life that drains your energy. So on one side of the paper I'll make them write the drainers. So anything in your life that drains your energy. On the other side, things in your life where you're gaining your energy. Okay, but it's not even just current. It's just even in general. Let's say a gainer of yours is walking in nature. Then you'll put that down. It's just to understand where do you feel like the battery is depleted? Where is it charged? And I'm sure you all have experienced this before. You can be around someone and then you need a nap.
Oh,
an actual nap, right?
Yes.
It's happened before. And it's to me personally, I'm at a point now where I don't have that anymore.
You're probably the person.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or you're not aware of what's going on. But again, even there, personally, I don't have this anymore, but I remember those moments where I needed a nap. So you've got those on both sides. And then basically what we do is we look at where are you spending more time. So let's say walks in nature is one of your gainers. And I'll now ask you, okay, so how often do you go for walks in nature? Like, oh, never. Maybe
3 months ago. Exactly.
Then we know, okay. And then we learn how to manage the drainers. They can either be managed, they can be eliminated. Some of them can't, because I've got clients where the drainers are their parents, right?
Or work.
Right? Work, family members, people they can't get rid of, right? Or they don't want to get rid of.
Reassess that, yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
So we learn to either eliminate them, manage them, or to kind of work our way around them by increasing our gainers.
So you're feeling better even though you
so we have a more energetic capacity for those, but also I'm never going to let the client just be like, oh, let me just spend all my time with that drainer. We'll find a strategy to set boundaries and to make it at least a little bit better.
And do you find that people feel much better after we did
Oh
it?
my God.
I'm telling you, it's one thing I remember
oh my God.
from our workouts. Like,
that was, it's definitely not that only, because we need a few sessions and then we go back into like, past patterns, conditioning, relationships. There's so much work that comes from all sides and coaching. So it's not, we're always working towards a goal, but we're working on so many fronts. So I've had clients that come completely burnt out. Literally, they send me a voice note before we start a session crying. And now they've got 10 times more on their plate than when they first messaged me. And they're holding capacity for it so well.
That's incredible.
So, and nothing, all that has changed is internally,
So what are the other, this is a great, I guess you call it a skill or a practice. What are some other things that you go to help them kind of either maybe undo some old stories or...
We definitely have to build not just present self-awareness, but also a little bit go back to understand where certain things come from, because it will help you when you start noticing patterns again that are repeating themselves. We don't always have to go super deep. I know in therapy, we have a tendency to analyze things in the past a lot and talk about things a lot. In coaching, it's not super necessary, but I do believe that it helps and it's empowering for clients to, if they want to, and if they give permission to kind of understand, where has this come from? This is why I am, and this is why I am like this, and this is why I am who I am today.
Well, sometimes it might help them make sense of it and feel a little better. Like, oh, I'm not making that up in my head.
Totally. And also when you are in a situation that is very similar, you can choose differently, right? And you can act as the more healed, or potentially as you can reparent yourself and act differently in that moment, which then affects, it's a different action that leads to different reality, basically. So what we do is very simple, but having someone there by your side that helps you understand those patterns, act accordingly, act differently, is really helpful. But then also a lot of the stuff is nervous system regulation.
Okay. Nowadays, that's what you trust me too. I realized I had been in fight or flight since I was a kid, and it's to this day, it's like that's where my body wants to go.
Yeah. And that's a huge aspect as well of clients not being able to step out of their comfort zone and go after those dreams, because
it's too
scary, and also you're already in fight or flight. So if I'm now going to push you to take that step out of your comfort zone and go all in, you won't have that capacity. You won't feel safe, and you'll self-sabotage, and it's not going to go anywhere. So what we try to do is, let's reset. And there's so much power that comes in, like resetting. What do I really want? How can I start fresh? What are my, look at certain things in your life you're unhappy with. How can we change those things around? Build that confidence slowly. Bring that nervous system to a more regulated state. Then we do the work within first. Yeah. And then we can go all in.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can it take a really long time to have that happen? And with people that you work with? Because it's definitely not an overnight thing. You're undoing these old stories, beliefs, and then also learning new ways to rewire your brain.
Absolutely. Definitely
That's
isn't
the
overnight.
crux of it, though. I mean, even if they, that's all they did with you, it's just, they would have that skill forever.
Absolutely. And I think it can take a while, but I've had clients where it goes really fast because they just had to be placed in a healthy container with someone, like you said, oh, you were just there, right? And I think that is a judgment-free space where you can say anything, and like there's no judgment coming back. It offers this space for you to like almost discover the parts of yourself that you already knew are there, but we tend to suppress or we might not look at. So basically, we all have our shadow sides and I'd say our light sides, right? Yeah. One doesn't exist without the other.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
And so sometimes shining our light on those shadow sides is so helpful because then you realize, okay, this is who I am, and you can fully own who you are. And there's less shame that comes with it because you've got a safe space where you can bounce off even the most absurd thoughts. But on the other hand, on the other side is that person that doesn't care what you tell them. It's about a safe container. And as a coach, and if your coach doesn't do this, in my opinion, is not a coach, but you need to hold the highest vision possible for your client. If you come to me and you say, I want to do this, 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 and it's massive, you're nowhere near that, that's a vision I'll be holding for you. As long as you are with me, and that is my job. My job is to hold that vision and know that we are working towards that. If then you come and say, look, we're going to change that. It is. But that is what also brings, that's how people then feel like they are more confident, because I'm just in the passenger seat, but the person's driving, right? And they know they've got someone there no matter what. And that already can skyrocket things so quickly. I've had people just make the payment of being in a container.
Imagine paper ready action.
And then already they're already moving differently.
Way forward. Yes.
They already basically said, with this payment, I'm saying I'm worthy. Because a lot of times you're like, oh, I'm not going to put money into myself because it's a risk. I don't know if I'll let myself down. I'd rather spend that money to go on a holiday with the girls. Fair enough. But then again, the payment towards yourself is the beginning of you saying I'm worthy.
I think that's incredibly important for us to understand why I think some coaches and coaching programs are actually quite expensive.
Yeah.
It is an investment.
Yeah.
I think we learn to invest in ourselves in many different ways.
Exactly.
And I hear this a lot because it used to actually aggravate me.
Yeah.
As who are coaches? What's this coach thing that it's really come alive in the last 10 years or so. But people are very bitter about cost of things and whatnot. And I'm a big believer that I think it's all a lesson. I think it's first of all, your coach is going to show up differently when she's getting what she deserves and feels good about. We all have been there. I can assume that we know what it's like when we're getting paid shitty and we show up, or we dreading and or we're excited and we're empowered.
Absolutely.
And same thing. It holds a level of responsibility and accountability, I think, to clients and those people looking for it. Because, think about when something is free.
Yeah.
Right? You might show up, you might not.
$100
course.
Again.
Can I tell you how many courses online that I've bought that are $99, and they're things that I want to do so badly.
Yeah, great content, great stuff.
Really great stuff, but I never finish it. Don't take it seriously.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to point that out. I'm glad that you mentioned whatever you were in, that came up for me when you were talking.
100%. The payment again there's a coach at every price point, and you'll find what stretches you, right? But that little stretch, basically, that feels a bit scary, where you're like, oh, I don't know. Then it's our job to be like, you got this. Yeah. And let's go all in and let's really build something here. And even if it's just building the next version of you to then do things, maybe those clients will end up doing what they want to do 10 years down the line.
Right.
But they could have gone completely different.
But if they feel differently on the way there, that's kind of what it's all about, right?
Life is here and life is now. We tend to forget that, and as coaches, it's all about, where we're heading. So you have to be careful about this, because at the end of the day, the most valuable gift is, are you living the life you enjoy and love right now? Are you waking up and feeling, this is what I always wanted?
Yeah. Or I think a lot of people also have, tell me what your opinion is here about goals and dream, goals versus intentions, right? Goals, working to, you're saying, you're holding this vision for your clients, which I love, because we will make up a ton of stories that will cloud that vision, that will take us off this direction, and I think that's really important. So how do you deal with people that come to you with, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do? And we know a timeline's never going to look straight, right?
No, it's not.
So yeah, tell me your thoughts on goals, intentions, and the differences.
So I think one big issue with all of us, and as soon as we become adults, is that we lose the capacity to dream big. So the first thing clients come to me with is they give me their goal or their intention. I would say goal because we're working towards something.
And most people may not know that word yet.
Exactly. They're just like, this is what I would like. And then they end up basically giving like maybe 50% of what they would want. They give me a safe version. It's still something they'd love, but it's safe. So
got it.
My job is to stretch that out further. Like dream very, very big.
Like if there are no limits.
Yeah. And that helps me to understand where you'd love to go. And it also helps the client to learn to stretch the capacity in your mind to see things. Because again, imagination precedes reality as we know it, right? Everything in our life that we can see and touch right now has been in someone's imagination. And that I think is such a fascinating concept. So when it clicked for me, I was like, whoa, even this cup right now, or even just like the actual matcha itself, this mix exactly. Someone had to think about it and then it was created. Now it landed in my hands this morning. And so this whole process just shows that it has to start with something inside our mind. So if you understand imagination precedes reality as we know it, then we have to learn to use that to our advantage.
And so your limitless living as well?
That was the community I was in a lot, and the community I'd created. And also, I like to call myself the modern guide of limitless living, because limitless living is, it's broad, but it's also basically what it says is you have potential, and are you living to that potential, and can you see a life without any limits? Which means if now tomorrow you decide you want to climb a specific mountain, can we make it happen? And or if tomorrow you want to, don't know, whatever you want to do, you want to become a singer or a DJ, can we make it happen? And can we make it happen in the way you want to? Ideally, maybe we'll take some time, but do we have the bravery and the courage to go after it fully? That is limitless living. It's just basically there are no limits. And if tomorrow if you're empowered enough to decide that tomorrow you want to be something else, that you've got the courage to do so. Just a life beyond limitations.
I love that. So you help them stretch out their kind of let's call it the big end goal or whatever, their big vision.
The big vision, and that can be a brand, that can be a company, that can be an individual, that can be a concept. But it always goes back down to my area of expertise, which is again using the mind to create that limitless life. And it won't come overnight, but it's about finding the right tools for you to then be able to unapologetically go after what that limitless life.
So it sounds like you're laying this groundwork, your mindset.
And definitely mindset, and then body work. It was breath work, so somatic. So mind, body, and spirit to a certain degree, which is then what like each client or each individual decides to themselves.
I loved that. I love that about you. It resonated with me when I found you, was because I teach from the same perspective, but combining the science, the spirituality, modernizing these kind of woo-woo things we used to talk about, but there's something they're meant to be together, right? We talk about mind, body, spirit. I mean, that's physical, it's spirit, it's mental. I mean, these are all things that exist, and they're meant to work in harmony, I think.
Yeah. And for the ones who don't believe in the spirituality, there's always a science to back it. So even though they're connected, or they're connected,
energy is the most science-based form of spirit we can talk about, right?
Exactly. And that is fascinating in itself, isn't it? Fascinating.
Yeah, I could go, pull other podcasts on that, and I intend to. And water study, from that. So interesting. It's wild. So on with the breath work is an incredible tool that you have to work with your clients. Can you just kind of simplify for the listeners, like what is breath work and why is it so powerful for you?
So basically, really enjoy the word manipulation. It's the manipulation of the breath. So we change the breath for certain outcomes. It is work. Breath is work. You put in the work. So obviously breathing, we all know how to breathe, but breath work is a practice. It's let's change the way we breathe to have certain, to change our state, basically. So what we do is we work with the breath, or if you believe in like prana, life force energy, we move that around based on what we want to kind of access or what we want to feel. So you can, and that's what I love about breath
you
work.
can be more energized, you can
calm yourself down, or you've got, and that's then what I've started doing with Airena as well is then applying it to more modern situations. Breathwork before a date, breathwork before an interview, breathwork before you ask for a pay rise, breathwork before any sort of situation possible. You can use it to your advantage.
That's incredible. So what kind of happens in a typical session with you with the breathwork?
So the sessions that I do, the sessions that I do are it depends. If you just do a simple kind of grounding, calming session, people will feel calm, grounded, feel like they better sleep, think clear. Some of them are longer sessions with circular breathing, which can lead a little bit like conscious connected, but not exactly that kind of breath work, because the breath work I do is in through the nose, out through the mouth. Conscious connected would be in through the mouth, out through the mouth.
Some of those.
And that can also be very, it's almost breath work that also helps emotionally to process things. So for example, in a long session, things can come up.
Okay.
Things from the past. Some people start crying. Some people start, feel like they want to express themselves physically. So it's just the breath takes you wherever it needs to take you. I always say, like, trust the breath. And hopefully the practitioner knows some techniques can be quite harsh. Could be a bit re-traumatizing for some when that resurfaces. So it's important to have the right kind of space, and also integration is key afterwards. But what you can expect from breathwork, I would say overall, is just emotional release in certain cases, clarity, creativity, getting ideas, relaxing, getting sleepy, getting activated, getting motivated, all sorts of magic dealing with all just controlling our breath. Exactly. Incredible. Yeah.
Do you have, does anything stick out as an example for you from a client that had like a breakthrough?
So many. I get so many, but the last one I did, I also received some feedback about the first time she was quite traumatized in the past by a specific person, and for her this was very, very difficult to kind of almost access again. She kind of had suppressed it or moved it to the side and not thought about it anymore. And now she was able to breathe through it in such a more empowered way that she felt like she wasn't, that story didn't kind of was owning her, even though she had moved on. But it was always this cloud, and she finally felt, and she was crying, and she was saying, like, this has been, and again, 1 hour breath work, but she had allowed herself, because that's another thing. I was to be open
just
for
going to say that,
everybody.
But I was going to say, how do you know when a client in general is ready for that? And you have an interview process, or
they might not be at all. Especially because now I'm doing events across London, and there's 25 people, and some people will be saying, this was amazing and I feel light, or some will have fallen asleep on a very activating breath work, but that's what they needed. And others will be bawling their eyes out and have just had the biggest breakthrough. I've had people have conversations with their passed away father throughout the breath work, and or seeing something they never allowed themselves to see, or see themselves in a situation finally that they never allowed themselves to explore.
So is it kind of just like, do you let them know and just surrender to the process?
Yeah. And I always say, whatever the breath is taking you, whatever the breath teaches you today, it teaches you. And if that's just a good sleep throughout the whole 90 minutes or 45 minutes or 60 minutes, that's what you needed most likely. And the next round, potentially you'll have something deeper, or maybe not even, But it's just trusting that your body has the answers.
That's incredible. Yeah. I know it's so transformative. I've done some different types of breath work, but like I said, it's just amazing that we have this involuntary process that happens, yet when we actually manipulate it and you take control of it, the things that it can do, it's so healing. Yeah. And so you talk a lot about courage, connection, confidence. And how does breathwork help to embody these qualities?
Well, with confidence, for example, okay, these sessions that I talked about now, where people face certain traumas or have these big emotional releases, are usually longer sessions, where you go through a whole breathwork kind of circular breathing and breath holds, and like it's a longer session. But then there's functional breathwork, which is basically using breathwork in your day to day. For example, on my way here, I breathe in, slowly exhale out even longer than my inhale. Something as simple as an extended exhale can help me be clear when I need to talk, or if I feel a bit low energy, I can use, Kapalabhati or breath of fire, for example, to just energize or
keep building.
Right. Yep. So those are kind of more functional breath works that you can use. So how does it help with courage and confidence? Well, a regulated and safe nervous system changes your life. When you're safe in the body, you see life differently. You'll start spotting opportunity. So you'll be more confident just because you're able to feel calm and safe in your body. And so anything, as scary as it might be, you have a whole different level of empowerment and a whole different level of confidence when you know I can trust myself. I can actually lean back and I'll have my back. No matter what happens, let me just go all in and I'll wing it. I'll figure it out.
I would imagine you know what you have the power to control your nervous system. I mean, that is self-trust right there.
100%. And you respond to life rather than to react to things, which then allows you to be closer to your authentic self and to your values, and obviously being more confident, because when you feel safe, you can take bolder, braver moves, and when you're not safe.
Oh yeah. And absolutely, I think the trust is just so important, especially
it's huge.
Yeah, for those of us, I think a lot. I always said, like, throughout my journey of life, like, as all my lows, all my mistakes, whatever, I feel like I always betrayed myself the most, and learning to trust myself again was probably the most important thing that I did. I don't, we're not saying we don't, I can break my trust all sorts of ways, right? From big to small, but learning that I can trust myself, that I'm capable of taking myself from here to there.
Absolutely.
It was an incredible gift for sure. So I want to talk about this incredible brand that you have, Airena. What a great name.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell us more about it. And it's such a branded breathwork. I love that.
Basically, branded breath. Yeah, well done. That's exactly what it is. It's about building. So Airena, the concept of Airena is, obviously, we say arena like an arena, but it's Airena because obviously we're breathing, right? So the concept is a training ground for mind and body, and about you meeting yourself in the arena. So stepping into the arena means also, having your own book and facing your fears. And there's moments in the week or in the month where you just want to step into the arena. And I wanted to create something that is accessible, easy, and modern. And it's the reason why I branded it, because I can have Valentina as my brand, which has been a personal brand this entire time. But I think I want people to relate to something. Like we've got run clubs here, they're very big. So you relate to your run
It's like your club, your community.
Your space, exactly.
Well, that was a big thing is that I loved watching about some of the videos. That there is a community aspect afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. There's a community aspect
afterwards. Get on there.
Exactly. For now, there are pop-up events across London that we partner with brands, it can be brand or any like food and beverage, like it depends. And then what we do is the breath work and then community aspect afterwards. And they're all across London. Hopefully one day will be international. But basically it's about finding your community, like-minded people that are all going to breathe with an intention. So now we see a lot of breath work around, but it's often like conscious connected breath work. Come in and enjoy.
Big events, yeah.
Or like come for a breathwork session.
Yeah.
Some people call somatic breathwork. Not sure what that
is.
Yeah. So breathwork is somatic. But again, so many different
term. That's good to know.
Yeah. So different types. Whereas with Airena, what I want is for it to be really so with Airena, what I want is for it to really be intentional when you come to the arena. So for example, one session will be about grief. Everyone's coming to let go or process.
To have a theme that day.
Always. So the arena is different categories in the arena, just like a seating plan in the arena. We've got one category which is more like mind and mindset stuff. Okay, then we've got the category that's more performance.
Wow.
Then we've got the category that's more transformation,
Incredible.
more spiritual. Yeah. Now we've got the rituals, kind of morning or evening. So 4 different categories. And what I see growing, because again, it started in May. We've had 2 events. One in July had to be cancelled, unfortunately, to the venue. And August, no events because everyone's traveling.
Yeah, of course.
So picking back up in September and October. What we're doing is now I'm building it online as well. So hopefully I can get people from all over the world. I step into the arena and do a 60-minute, 90-minute or 45-minute session based on the category.
I think this is incredible.
Yeah, so really specific, intentional breath work.
Yeah, and it's like going to the gym for your breath.
Exactly. Your training ground.
A training ground.
Or parts of you that just need, and again, I don't believe in quick fixes, but I also want to present something where people can come together and have that little push in the right direction. And if you want, long-term support, then you hire someone. But how cool is it to have a space where you can just breathe, have a session where you meet yourself and you learn and you process whatever the theme may be.
I'm obsessed with it.
It's so cool. Again, I want to make it cool. So you step in there and it's a bit different. So some people came and they're like, oh, there's no incense and stuff. No, there's no incense. I play Drake and hip hop when you come in.
I know, I love that video.
Very different.
Same taste in music.
Yeah, exactly. Very different and just me, And then people might like it, people might not like it. But it's also about bringing different worlds together and not just people in the wellness space, creatives, DJs, people in entertainment, people in fashion. And yeah,
I think this is going to be really big this year.
Yeah, I'd love that. The goal is to really make this really accessible for everybody and make it really cool.
Oh yeah, it's all cool. She's the coolest, by the way. I find you to be the coolest.
Thanks you.
Amazing. This is incredible. Is there any way you would do a little bit of breath with us just for like a minute, or just maybe walk us through something for a beginner? Like, would we good in there and just sitting down? Like, I could be your student for a minute.
There's quite a few very simple techniques. They're probably so simple you've probably already experienced.
But our listeners probably maybe had it starting, from scratch. Yeah, exactly. So I always just want to give them a little takeaway.
So a little bit just about like basics, even just understanding breathing, because we can't start breathing if you're breathing, let's say, not incorrectly, but maybe not in the best or the most optimal way.
Okay.
So the most optimal way would be always breathing into your belly. So diaphragmatic breaths, which you probably know from yoga as a 3-part breath or the wave.
We call it Durga.
Okay, there you go.
But yes, the 3 parts. Yeah.
3 parts, right? So first the belly rises and really like fills up like a balloon, stretches out. Then the rib cage expands, then the chest. So if we would be slowing the breath down really, really slowly, we would be breathing in a way that we don't want anyone to hear us.
Okay.
We can almost feel like, even though they're simultaneous in a way, we could almost feel one before the other. Okay, so first you inhale, belly, rib cage, chest all the way to the top, and then exhale with a sigh. That's so good. So at least there, you already know that you're breathing diaphragmatically. So when we're doing the breath,
can you breathe without your diaphragm?
You can. Chest breathers, which again, I've been...
So that really does not activate your diaphragm at all?
Will, but a little bit. Very little. And it all comes from up here. So basically, a lot of people are chest breathers, and so the breaths are shallow, more breaths per minute, right? And what we want to do is slowing the breaths down, less breaths per minute. And we want to be engaging the diaphragm so that we really take deep, slow breath.
I think that's really important. So even for our listeners, if you're listening out there, just remember to practice like filling the belly.
Yeah, and you can lay down on your bed if that's easier, and place your hand on your diaphragm to really feel that belly rising and falling. Now, this is really super basic. But make sure that when you're doing breath work, you are breathing correctly, because it's useless to be doing all the breaths from up here. But we've got more nerve endings connected to our sympathetic nervous system, so into fight or flight. And so to go into parasympathetic, we need to do some more diaphragmatic breathing.
Okay.
So one great breath that maybe some people might have never done before, even though it's very common, is a physiological sigh. So we basically mimic the sigh by inhaling twice and then long extended exhale through the mouth.
Okay.
So when you exhale, you want to exhale as if you're exhaling into a straw. So through pursed lips. So that enables you to control the exhale and have it way longer than your inhale, which then lowers your heart rate and calms you down.
Okay.
You almost feel decompressing. So we take a deep breath, fully in. Little sip of it. And out through pursed lips. Feeling the shoulders that are decompressing, your whole body relaxing. And really letting go all of the air. Try to do it as much as you can. So elongating. So all the way in. Sit. And out. Slow and controlled, letting the air out. And if you take a few of these, you will feel very, very much that like your whole body has been slowly decompressing, feeling safer. And as you're letting go, your shoulders almost tend feel your whole body melting and relaxing when you exhale.
The chest and shoulders totally relaxed.
So trying to also feel, obviously you want to be in a space where you can let go, you can relax. But the physiological sigh is a great one, and it's a fun one as well. Compared to maybe other cold breath.
Came a little bit more. Yeah, this is amazing. I'm glad that we were able to give
just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Breathing.
So, all right, we're wrapping up. I'm so happy that you were here. I have a few last questions. And something I like to ask all of my guests is I'm kind of collecting definitions here. But what is your definition of self-worth?
Ooh. That's such a good one. Well, my definition of self-worth is, or of being worthy, or I mean just self-worth in itself? Like me feeling worthy, or
no, what is your definition of what worth is?
What worth? I think self-worth is, it's a birthright. It's a birthright.
I love that.
So self-worth is what you believe you deserve. It's but you inherently deserve, not based on
as you were born,
just because you're born, not based on what you achieved or got. So just because you've made it on this planet and you got a chance in life, a chance to experience this lifetime in this body and in this vessel of yours, you are worthy. So self-worth is inherently there for everybody. Now that it gets distorted left, right and center 100%, that we then with time believe we don't deserve things and we're not worthy is a different story. But self-worth in itself is just you being
worthy,
you being human and having a chance at this life. So it's a tricky one. Some people might say, oh, but those terrible people or criminals or people,
they're still born worthy.
They're still born worthy. It's a hard concept when you've been really hurt by certain people. But in general, let's try to not look at what people have done.
Right.
Just look at blank canvas.
I think Jay Shetty was talking about this thing about judging people not for their actions but for their intentions.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big.
And how we judge ourselves. We judge others on their actions, not their intentions, but we judge ourselves.
Yeah.
We're harder on ourselves.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but it was an interesting way to look at it because I feel like that's for me. It's very hard for me to persecute people, to be mad at people, to hold grudges because I feel like I was born that way, but I feel like I can see everybody's intention.
Yeah.
And it's
same.
It's just that humanity kicks in for me.
Yeah. And people do the best they can with the resources that they've been given, right? Or they have in that moment. So we all make mistakes. Again, I do think some things shouldn't exist on this planet. We all know. But
yes.
There were atrocities in life. I haven't gotten there yet.
Day to day, yeah.
But day to day, that's how I
agree. That's a beautiful one.
Yeah.
Looking back at your own journey, what's one truth about self-worth you wish you had understood earlier?
I wish I'd understood that exactly that. What I just said earlier, that self-worth is not based on what achievement.
Yes.
I thought it was based on achievement. Like, I don't deserve a break until I've done this and this, or I don't deserve this until I've proven or shown my parents this is what I can do, or until I've made this much, or until, it was always a condition behind things for me. I didn't know it.
As only it was the same way.
Yeah, it's only with time and later on that I've realized, what if I'm just worthy because I exist.
Oh my gosh.
God is that. How would my life look like?
I'd have a lot of adjusting for
a lot.
We take that a lot.
Because we are in a society where work is glorified and it's all about action and the masculine energy of doing. And being is a bit, again, in the wellness space, it's all about feminine energy and being. But I would say a lot of it in our society is about doing. And therefore we link our worth based on how much we've done. What about you're just being?
Oh, I love that. I'm glad we got that up.
Yeah, that was a big one for me and still takes work.
Absolutely, as all of this does.
Yeah.
So if someone is listening and they're just in the middle of doubt and comparison and feeling small, what would you want them to know?
Maybe on the same thing. Yeah, I would want them to know that there is, when there's these moments we're in full despair, I think if you're in this moment, I'd congratulate you, because I guess there's no lower than that. If you're at rock bottom right now, it only goes up from here. So sometimes you've got to touch the ground to stand back up. So embrace your breakdown and just know it gets better from here. Every high has a low, every low has a high. It's the law of polarity. Trust that on the other side there is something better for you, but also don't lose that hope, that spark. You can be on the floor and cry and feel like you're broken, but it won't destroy you. So remember, you're not like you think right now. Everything seems a catastrophe. Life is you're still breathing. Remember those little things of like life is not finished. Yeah. Life is not finished. Sometimes we think that it's over. Game over. We're done. We're dead. We don't even think about anything else because we're so much panic.
Like we were talking about being in those relationships where we're like, I can't see.
There's nothing else. It's like the end of the world. That's life. Exactly. It's just the end. We're not going to survive this. And yes, you will. You're still breathing. You're waking up on the next day. You will be okay. But just know that that rock bottom you're feeling is there for a reason. And so embrace it rather than push it away. Oh, how am I here again? Why am I so low? No, just embrace it. Touch the ground so that you can stand back up. And you'll see with time, you will be standing back up. It doesn't go lower than the ground, to be honest. You can go on the ground.
We found. So no, exactly. So I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, last and final question. What is your superpower?
Ooh, that's such a good question.
I know, I love that question.
I love superpowers, but I wish I had so many.
You do have so many.
But yeah, I would say my superpower is probably what I usually say is authenticity. I think that's my superpower. I was going to say also like empathy, because I do feel like that makes me so good at my job, is to being able to read people, pick up on their energy, know exactly how to support them, when to push them and when pushing them would be dysfunctional, not following a script, but really being that building a rapport with that person.
Right.
But I think also authenticity nowadays is a superpower that lots of people give away. We're all so unique, but we try to be versions of other people. And so if you're breaking the mold, you're paving the way for something new, you are to a certain degree you're not going to be replicable really. Unless you're trying to really be like someone else. Some people might do something similar, but they can't replicate you. They won't have your background. They won't have your story. They won't have. And so I think over the years, I've mastered owning who I am and making peace with that and not trying to fit the mold too much. Hence why with Airena, bringing hip hop and breathwork.
I love it. My essence. I love it. I think that is so powerful to really own the fact that you are unique. You're not terminally unique.
Yeah.
You are a human, but we each come here with something to offer. And even if we're in the same field, nobody's going to do it like you.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to do it like me.
We do similar things, but not in the same way.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's going to resonate to your certain people.
Absolutely.
And our certain,
So the authenticity, I think, is huge. If you can lean into that, it is a superpower. So
I love that.
Just being yourself and doing things aligned to your values.
Perfect. Well, what an answer. What a last question. So for anybody that wants to dive deeper with you, how do they find you? Where can they find you? What do you have coming up?
Yes. So my website if you use email, it's my full name, www.valentinamarzola.com.
And we're going to put all of this in the notes in the podcast as well. So
perfect. Then there's my Instagram, which is the same, Valentina_Marzola. And there it's the easiest way. Just DM me, message me. And if
I'm taking clients
taking clients one-on-one, and with Airena, you can follow my page. It's called Airena Official, which we'll tag as well.
Yeah,
if you are London based, perfect. We've got pop-ups coming up, and if not, we're launching online very soon. So wherever you are around the globe, hopefully you'll find the Airena as a space for you to just really meet yourself and work through some things somatically.
Incredibly. What about your classes? Are those available?
My classes, yes. I also teach at ARC if you're London based. So it's a place where it's the only place outside of my work where I teach breathwork. So it's called ARC Community. It's a contrast therapy place, and I teach basically breathwork in the sauna and then guide people through the ice. So yeah, contrast therapy sessions, they're available. I'm on the schedule weekly. So if you're based in London, come check it out. That's a quick and easy and accessible way to my energy.
Yes. And so just to clarify, you work one-on-one and you can do that virtually from anywhere.
From literally anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, literally.
Why I was in Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how I found you. Oh, do you remember?
I think you said
it's surreal, maybe. Yeah. It's so but you really amazing. You're the first thing to pop up on it.
Wow. Yeah. I love my clients come all over the world. So I do everything on Zoom from the comfort of your own home.
And it is very easy.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, if you want a transformation, if you want support by the most loving presence, the soul over here is just so genuine and incredible at what she does. Definitely reach out to her. At the very least, follow her on Instagram.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a beautiful.
Thank you. It was so nice to be here. Thank you for this incredible conversation. You're an amazing host. I mean, incredible host. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for this.
I'm excited too.
Great things.
Thank you guys. Tune back in soon. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Worthy the Podcast. Our goal is to build a community, and we do that through people like you who listen, subscribe, and most importantly, share with someone you care about. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, as well as our YouTube channel. And if this episode resonated with you, leave a review. We want to hear from you. Thanks for being here, and remember, you've always been enough. Period. This podcast is meant to inspire and educate, but I am not a licensed therapist or medical professional. Everything shared here is based on personal experience and perspective, so take what resonates and leave the rest.